r/ProRevenge, sister crashed my barbecue drunk, so I exposed her at work. Hashtag chunk 1, the uninvited guest. I'm standing in my backyard with a cold beer in one hand and a perfectly charred burger in the other when I first see her car pull up to my house. My sister's beat-up Honda Civic rolls into my driveway at 7:47 p.m. on a Saturday evening, and immediately, I know this is going to be a problem. I haven't invited Sarah to this party. Nobody invited Sarah to this party. I'd been meticulous about the guest list, 30 people, carefully selected. My entire team from the software engineering division at Nexus Corp, a few friends from college, my best friend Marcus and his girlfriend, my parents even RSVP'd yes. This was supposed to be the celebration that launched my new life as senior engineer, the promotion I'd been grinding toward for 4 years. I'd sent out invitations 2 weeks prior. Formal invitations via email, with RSVP links and everything. My sister Sarah was not on that list. Hey. Wait here a sec, I tell Marcus, who's mid-sentence about some absurd thing his Uber driver said to him. I set my beer down on the picnic table, the nice one I just bought for this occasion, and jogged toward the driveway. Sarah's climbing out of her car, and I can tell immediately that something is off. It's the way she's moving, the slight wobble as she gets her feet under her, the exaggerated care she's taking to shut the car door like she's operating heavy machinery. Sarah? What are you doing here? She squints at me, and that's when I smell it, the unmistakable sour reek of alcohol mixing with stale perfume. It hits me like a physical wall. Oh, hey. Her voice is too loud, the kind of loud that carries across the neighborhood. Heard you were having a party. The promotion party. Big shot now, right? Big shot software engineer. Mom told you. Mom told everyone. She's moving toward the backyard now, and I'm following her, my mind frantically calculating how to handle this. Said you were having coworkers over. Thought I'd come celebrate my big brother. Except Sarah is slurring her words. Not dramatically, but noticeably. And there's a red wine stain on the front of her white blouse that she clearly hasn't noticed. Sarah, I appreciate that, but she's already pushed through the gate and into my backyard, where 30 people are currently enjoying themselves, mingling, laughing, eating the food I've spent hours preparing. My boss is out there. Douglas Castellano. The man who approved my promotion. The man who's technically my boss's boss's boss, and who agreed to come to this neighborhood barbecue in the most surprisingly casual gesture of professional kinship I'd ever experienced. Everyone. Sarah shouts, spreading her arms wide as if she owns the place. Everyone, let's hear it for my brother. The genius. The engineer. The man who forgot to invite his own sister to his big celebration. The conversation doesn't stop entirely, but I feel the shift. The energy changes. People glance over. Marcus raises his eyebrows at me from across the yard. My colleague Jennifer actually pauses mid-bite of her burger. Sarah, come on, I say quietly, moving toward her. Let's talk inside for a second. No. Let's talk right here. Where everyone can hear. She's swaying now, and she grabs the arm of my coworker Tom to steady herself. Tom looks deeply uncomfortable. You know what? I work for one of the most prestigious companies in the city. Reston Associates. Ever heard of it? I'm doing really well too. Really, really well. This is a lie. I know it's a lie. But nobody else does, and she's delivering it with the kind of confidence that makes it sound true. Sarah. And you know what I do. I help people. I help them get their lives together. I'm in corporate relations. Very important job. That's not. Very important, she repeats, pointing a finger at me that's just a little too aggressive. So don't think you're the only one with a fancy career. She releases Tom, who immediately backs away, and then she's moving toward the cooler where I've got the remaining beers, the expensive craft ones that I picked up specially for this event. We should toast, she announces. We should make a toast to my brother, the software engineer, who apparently only invites important people to his parties. I can feel eyes on me now. Not just a few, most of the party has turned to watch. Douglas is watching. My entire team is watching. Sarah, you need to leave, I say quietly, reaching for her arm. She shakes me off, harder than necessary, and as she does, her foot catches on one of the lawn chairs. She stumbles, and in that moment of instability, she grabs the nearest thing to steady herself, which happens to be the table with my carefully arranged appetizers. The charcuterie board I'd spent 40 minutes assembling slides off the edge. Fancy cheese, prosciutto, and expensive crackers tumble across the grass. For a moment, there's complete silence. Then Sarah starts laughing. Not a polite laugh, a loud, ugly, slurred laugh that echoes across the yard. Oops, she says. And I realize, with the clarity of a lightning strike, that this night is about to get so much worse. Hashtag chunk 2, the escalation. The next 20 minutes are a blur of damage control that goes absolutely nowhere. I try to guide Sarah away from the party, suggesting she come inside and have some water, some food, anything to get her separated from my guests. She refuses, insisting instead that she's fine and just having fun, and why is everyone being so weird? Her slurring has gotten worse. Each word now requires visible effort, like she's speaking through water. Sarah, please, I say, my voice low enough that only she can hear. Just come inside. You can rest for a bit, and then I'll call you a cab. I don't need a cab. I'm not drunk, she announces to absolutely no one in particular, then immediately lurches sideways, nearly colliding with my neighbor Brad, who'd come over specifically because he'd heard Douglas Castellano might be here networking-wise. Brad catches her elbow to steady her, and she snaps at him, don't touch me. I'm not drunk. It's such a textbook denial that I almost laugh. I don't, because nothing about this is funny. My mom is here somewhere, I'd seen her earlier chatting with Jennifer by the patio, and I make a mental note to keep Sarah away from her at all costs. The last thing this situation needs is my mother getting involved and making excuses, or worse, getting defensive about her youngest daughter's drinking problem like she always does. Everyone's just being judgmental, Sarah is saying now, weaving between groups of my colleagues. That's what your problem is, you know. You're all so judgmental. So holier than thou. Oh, we're software engineers, we're so smart, we make so much money. Nobody cares. I watch in horror as she approaches Douglas Castellano, who's standing near the grill with my team lead, Mitchell. Douglas is the kind of executive who looks like he was born in a business suit, silver-haired, composed, with the kind of presence that makes junior engineers nervous just by proximity. You, Sarah points at him. You look important. Oh God. Oh God, no. I'm Douglas Castellano, he says pleasantly, extending his hand. He has no idea what's about to happen. He's being polite. He thinks this is just a friendly guest. Well, Douglas Castellano, let me tell you something about my brother, Sarah says, slapping his hand away instead of shaking it. He's not that special. He acts like he invented software or something. He acts like he's better than everyone else. Sarah. I'm moving toward her now, but Mitchell steps in front of me, giving me a look that says he's got this, which he absolutely does not have. I'm sure your brother is very talented, Douglas says smoothly, clearly reading the situation for what it is and trying to gracefully extract himself. He's not, Sarah continues, her voice getting louder. He's mediocre. You know what? I bet half his code is garbage. I bet he copies stuff off Stack Overflow like everyone else and pretends he wrote it. The entire yard has gone quiet again. I can feel the weight of 30 pairs of eyes. Sarah, that's enough, I say, finally reaching her and putting a gentle but firm hand on her shoulder. She spins around, faster than I expect, and her eyes are glassy and unfocused. Don't touch me. You're being controlling. That's what you always do, you control everything. You control your little parties, you control who gets invited, you probably control your stupid girlfriend. Oh wait, you don't have one, because you're too busy being a corporate sellout. Okay, we're going inside now, I say, and I'm not asking anymore. I'm moving her toward the patio door, but she's fighting me, her movements erratic and increasingly aggressive. Get off. She wrenches her arm away, and in the process, her elbow connects with the citronella candle I placed on the side table. It topples, and the glass breaks against the stone patio. Wax and broken glass scatter everywhere. Jesus, Sarah. I'm leaving. She suddenly declares, as if this was her decision. I don't want to be at your stupid party anyway. Your friends are boring. This whole thing is boring. For a moment, I think maybe this is actually happening. Maybe she's going to just leave and this nightmare will be contained. But then she's walking toward the lawn furniture, and I watch in real-time horror as she apparently decides that my brand new Adirondack chairs are somehow personally offensive. She picks one up, actually picks it up, which surprises me because these chairs are heavier than they look, and hurls it across the yard. It lands near the cooler with a loud crack. Sarah. I'm moving toward her now, my hands up. What are you doing? These are stupid chairs. Stupid expensive chairs for a stupid expensive party. She grabs another one, but this time I'm close enough to catch her wrist. Stop. Right now. She looks at me, and I see something shift in her expression. For just a second, there's something almost like awareness there, like maybe some part of her realizes what's happening. But then it's gone, replaced by raw anger. You think you're so much better than me, she says, her voice venomous. You always have. Since we were kids. You got the good grades, you got the good job, and now you're getting the good life. And nobody wants to talk about the fact that I'm struggling. Nobody wants to help me. Everyone just wants to judge me. I do want to help you, I say, and I mean it, even now. But not like this. Not at my house, in front of my boss and my team. Your boss. Your team. She laughs bitterly. Yeah, they love you so much. Look at them. They're all watching you right now, wondering what the hell is going on with your crazy sister. She's right, of course. They are. My entire career trajectory just watched my sister throw furniture in my backyard while drunk and belligerent. Come on, I say, trying a different approach. Let me call you a cab. We can talk about this tomorrow. I don't want to talk tomorrow. I want to. She stops mid-sentence, her face suddenly going pale. I watch in slow-motion dread as her hand comes up to her mouth, as her whole body tenses, as she turns toward the nearest person. Which happens to be Douglas Castellano, who is still standing by the grill, his expression now a mask of professional concern mixed with visible alarm. Sarah barely makes it 2 steps before she vomits. Violently. Spectacularly. All over my boss. The silence that follows is absolute. Hashtag chunk 3, the fallout. The smell hits me first. Then the sound, that wet, horrible retching noise that seems to echo across the entire backyard. Douglas Castellano stands frozen in place, his silver hair and expensive button-down now decorated with the consequences of Sarah's drinking problem. His face cycles through several emotions in rapid succession, shock, disgust, and then something that looks like carefully controlled rage masked by professionalism. I'm so sorry, Sarah gasps, swaying on her feet. She lurches toward a nearby bush, where she finishes the job with absolutely no regard for where she is or who's watching. I'm frozen for approximately 3 seconds. Then instinct kicks in. I grab a stack of napkins from the table, the few that didn't get scattered across the lawn, and thrust them toward Douglas. I am so incredibly sorry, I say, and I mean it with every fiber of my being. I'll pay for the cleaning, the dry cleaning, whatever you need. My sister is. I can see that, Douglas says quietly. He takes the napkins, his jaw working silently. He's not angry. That might be worse than anger. Anger I could understand. This controlled, disappointed silence, feels like watching my entire career implode in real time. Mitchell appears at my elbow with wet paper towels and what appears to be a remarkable amount of composure. Why don't I help you get cleaned up inside, he suggests to Douglas, his voice carefully neutral. Douglas nods and follows him toward the patio door without another word. The party, such as it still is, has completely disintegrated into chaos. Half my guests are pretending very hard to be interested in their conversations while their eyes track Sarah, who has now sunk onto the grass next to the bush, her entire body shaking. My mom appears from around the side of the house, takes in the scene, and her face goes white. "Oh, Sarah," she breathes, rushing toward her. "Honey, are you okay? When did you get here? Why didn't anyone tell me?" "Mom, not now," I say, and there's a hardness in my voice that makes her stop mid-stride. "Just, can you stay with her? Make sure she doesn't." I gesture vaguely at the disaster zone that is my backyard. "Just watch her." My mom looks at me with that expression I've come to know well, the one that says she's disappointed in me for not being more sympathetic to Sarah's situation. But she sits down on the grass next to my sister anyway. I find myself standing alone in the center of my backyard, staring at the wreckage. The broken charcuterie board. The overturned Adirondack chair. The citronella candle glass glittering on the patio stones. The vomit still visible near the grill. And scattered throughout it all, my coworkers and friends, all of them now holding their phones down at their sides in a way that suggests at least some of them have been documenting this entire thing. Jennifer from marketing approaches me cautiously. "Hey, I'm really sorry about your sister," she says quietly. That was rough. But for what it's worth, I don't think anyone blames you. Family stuff is complicated. I appreciate her kindness, but I can see the sympathy in her eyes, and it's almost worse than judgment. This is how people will remember me now. Not as the software engineer who just got promoted. As the guy whose drunk sister vomited on the CEO at his house party. "Thanks," I say, because I don't know what else to say. By the time I've spent the next hour managing the cleanup and the exit of my guests, most of whom leave with apologetic waves and carefully neutral expressions, the sun is setting. My backyard looks like a disaster zone. Sarah is passed out on the couch inside, despite my mother's protests that she should stay the night. I've already called her an Uber for when she wakes up. I'm not taking any chances on her staying longer. Douglas, it turns out, did not leave. He emerges from the downstairs bathroom in a borrowed t-shirt of mine. Mitchell had apparently found him one while I was outside, with his soiled shirt in a plastic bag. His hair is still damp. "I should go," he says, but he doesn't move immediately. I wanted to say something first. Here it comes. The lecture. The "I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed" speech that will probably determine whether I get to stay in this promotion or whether I get quietly reassigned to a less visible project. "Your sister clearly has a problem," Douglas says. "A serious one. I hope she gets help." "She won't," I say bitterly. My mom keeps saying it's just a phase, that she's going through something, that everyone's being too hard on her. But Sarah's been like this for years. She just got better at hiding it, apparently. "That's unfortunate," Douglas says, and he genuinely sounds like he means it. "For her, and for you. This kind of thing, it has a way of sticking with people. Colleagues will remember this. There it is. The confirmation of what I already know. I understand," I say quietly. "And I really am sorry. She shouldn't have been here. I didn't even know she was coming." "Yes, well." Douglas adjusts the borrowed shirt awkwardly. "I appreciate you saying that. Look, I'm not going to pretend that tonight went well. But I also won't pretend that I don't understand that family crises are sometimes outside of our control. I don't want this to affect my position," I say, and I hear the desperation in my own voice. "I worked really hard to earn this promotion. I didn't know she would." "I know you did," Douglas says. "And you seem like a capable engineer. Don't let tonight define your career." He pauses, and there's something calculating in his expression. "But I would suggest you establish some firm boundaries with your sister. For your own sake, if nothing else." After he leaves, I stand in my kitchen surrounded by the debris of what was supposed to be the best night of my professional life, and I feel something shift inside me. A line being drawn. A decision being made. Sarah has spent years pushing boundaries with my mother, who enables her constantly. Sarah has spent years treating everyone around her like they owe her sympathy and support while she actively refuses to get help. And tonight, Sarah decided to destroy the one night that actually mattered to my career. I pull out my phone and open the Photos app. My hands are shaking as I start going through my contacts, looking for the name of someone I haven't spoken to in 3 months. Someone I found on LinkedIn doing HR work for one of the biggest pharmaceutical companies in the area. Sarah had bragged to me once, during one of the rare sober conversations we'd had in the last year, about landing this corporate gig. She'd gotten the job by claiming she was sober, that she'd been going to AA meetings. She'd been so proud of it. I stare at her LinkedIn profile for a long time, thinking about the image she'd carefully constructed. The professional headshot. The glowing recommendations from people who clearly had no idea what she was actually like outside of work. The cursor hovers over the message button. I don't click it. Not yet. But I will. #chunk4. I don't sleep that night. I lie in bed staring at my ceiling, my phone dark on the nightstand, and I keep replaying the moment where Douglas's expression shifted from disappointment to something else. Something that looked almost like understanding. Asterisk for her, and for you. This kind of thing has a way of sticking with people, asterisk. Around 2 a.m., I get up and go downstairs. Sarah's still on my couch, breathing heavily, her mouth slightly open. There's a blanket thrown over her. My mom must have done that before I called her an Uber and she reluctantly left. I stand in the doorway for a long moment, just looking at my sister. Even now, passed out and reeking of alcohol and vomit, there's a part of me that feels guilty. That feels like the big brother who's supposed to protect her, to help her, to at least try. But that part of me is exhausted. That part of me has been exhausted for about 5 years now. I go back upstairs and open my laptop. The research takes 3 hours. I pull up Sarah's company website, Meridian Pharmaceuticals, a mid-sized firm about 20 minutes from here. I find the page for their corporate wellness division, where Sarah apparently works. Her bio is there, complete with the professional headshot she'd taken for LinkedIn. Sarah Chen, Corporate Wellness Coordinator. Committed to fostering a healthy, supportive workplace culture. The irony is so thick I can barely swallow. I find their HR contact page, and there's a generic email address. I sit with my cursor hovering over it for what feels like forever, my finger on the trackpad but not clicking. This is the point, I realize. This is where I decide what kind of person I am. I close the laptop. It's 5 a.m., and I feel hollowed out. Exhausted in a way that sleep won't fix. I make coffee and sit on my back porch, looking at the damage in the pale pre-dawn light. Mitchell had helped me clean up most of it, but there are still cigarette butts in the grass, not mine, not from anyone I know, probably from Sarah, and the citronella candle glass is still scattered across the patio stones where I've been too emotionally raw to deal with it properly. My phone buzzes. A text from my mom, asterisk, is she still there? Should I come back over, asterisk? I don't respond. I'm not ready to have that conversation. The one where my mother defends Sarah's actions because she didn't mean to, or was going through something, or whatever excuse she's already constructing in her head. By 7 a.m., Sarah wakes up. I hear the sound of her struggling off the couch, the muffled curse, the sound of her making a beeline for the downstairs bathroom. 15 minutes later, she emerges looking like a tragedy in human form. Her hair is matted on one side. Her makeup is smudged. Her eyes are bloodshot and confused. Hey, she says, seeing me at the kitchen table with my cold coffee. Did I sleep here? You threw up on my boss, I say flatly. Then passed out on the lawn. Then got carried inside by mom. Sarah's face goes through several shades of green. What? No, I didn't, she stops, and I watch the realization creep into her expression. Oh God. Oh God, I did, didn't I? Yeah. You did. I'm so sorry, I didn't mean, I just came because I wanted to see you, and I had a few drinks at Karen's place before I came over, and I just... She sinks into a chair. Who was your boss? Douglas Mercer. The VP of Engineering. The person whose approval I need if I want to actually keep this promotion. Sarah puts her head in her hands. For a moment, I think maybe this is it. Maybe this is the moment where she finally understands the impact of her actions. Where she finally decides to actually do something about her drinking instead of just talking about it during the rare moments she's sober. I'll apologize, she says finally. I'll send him an email or something. I can explain. No, I say. You're not going to do that. What? Why not? It's the right thing to do. Because you'll make it worse, I say, and I hear the bitterness in my voice like a physical thing. You'll send him some rambling apology that makes it all about you and your struggles, and your recovery journey, and he'll be forced to listen to that shit because he's a decent person and he feels bad for you. And then everyone at work will know that my sister, my drunk sister, has some kind of significant problem. Which, congratulations, they probably already suspect. Sarah flinches. That's not fair. You know what's not fair. I lean forward. Working my ass off for 3 years. Getting promoted to a position I busted my tail for. Throwing one party to celebrate with the people who matter to my career. And having you show up uninvited, destroy my house, and vomit on the person I report to. I said I was sorry. Being sorry doesn't undo it, I say, and my voice is quiet now, which somehow makes it worse. Being sorry doesn't make Douglas unsee what happened. Being sorry doesn't make Jennifer from marketing unfilm the whole thing on her phone, and yes, I saw her doing it. Being sorry doesn't actually change anything. Sarah stands up abruptly. Fine. You're angry. I get it. I'll call my Uber and go. Already did it for you. It's coming at 8. She stares at me. Are you serious right now? Completely serious. She grabs her purse from where it's been sitting by the couch. Her movements are jerky, angry. You know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe I should just leave. Get out of your perfect life and stop ruining everything. I don't say anything. I just watch her stomp toward the door. And for the record, she says, turning back, I've been going to AA meetings. I have been getting help. So maybe don't assume you know everything about me. You were drunk when you got here, I say simply. AA doesn't work if you don't actually commit to it. She leaves before I can see her reaction to that. After the Uber comes and takes her away, I sit at my kitchen table for another hour. My laptop is still closed. The email to HR is still unwritten. But I can feel it sitting there in my brain like a loaded gun, waiting. By the time I open the laptop again, I've convinced myself it's not about revenge. It's about safety. It's about Sarah finally facing the consequences of her actions. It's about protecting myself. I find myself back on the HR contact page, and this time, I don't hesitate. #chunk5. The email takes me 45 minutes to write. I draft it 17 times. Each version sounds different, angrier, colder, more clinical, more emotional. I delete and rewrite so many times that the cursor blinking on the blank page starts to feel like a judgment. Finally, I settle on something that sounds concerned rather than vengeful. Anonymous, but detailed. The kind of email HR would have to take seriously. I don't mention Sarah by name in the subject line. Just, corporate wellness coordinator, serious concern. Professional. Detached. The body of the email is worse because I have to be strategic about it. I mention specific incidents I've witnessed, showing up to family events visibly intoxicated, admitting to drinking before coming to work events, the general pattern of behavior that doesn't match someone actively committed to sobriety. I mention that she's apparently told her employer she attends AA meetings regularly, and I suggest that might be worth verifying. I keep my language neutral. Clinical. The kind of thing that sounds like it's coming from a concerned friend rather than a furious sibling trying to burn down her career. I don't mention the barbecue. That would be too specific, too obviously personal. My finger hovers over the send button for what feels like an eternity. This is different from the cursor hovering over the message button on LinkedIn. This is the actual point of no return. Once I send this, I can't take it back. Once this goes into HR's inbox, I've officially crossed from venting frustrated thoughts into actual action. Into revenge. I think about Douglas's face again. The disappointment. The understanding. I hit send. For approximately 30 seconds, I feel nothing. Then my stomach drops like I've stepped off a cliff. What the hell did I just do? I close the laptop before I can do anything stupid like trying to recall the email, knowing full well that's not actually possible. The message is gone. It's in their system now, floating in the corporate void, waiting to detonate Sarah's carefully constructed professional life. My phone buzzes. A text from Mitchell, *Hey man, checking in. How are you holding up, *. I almost laugh. How am I holding up? I just anonymously reported my sister to her employer. I'm holding up like a person who just made a decision they might regret for the rest of their life. I text back, *fine. Thanks for the cleanup help yesterday, *. He responds immediately, *, of course. Look, I know this is probably not the time, but Douglas mentioned something to me this morning. He wanted me to tell you that he doesn't hold what happened against you. Said it was clearly a family situation, and he's impressed by how you handled it, *. I read that text about 6 times. Douglas doesn't hold it against me. He's impressed. And suddenly I feel like I'm going to throw up. By Monday morning, I haven't heard anything from Sarah or my mom, which is unusual enough to be suspicious. I go to work early, trying to settle into a normal routine as if I haven't just done something that could fundamentally alter my family's relationship. The office is quiet at 7:30 a.m. Just me and a few other early arrivals scattered across the floor. I'm deep in code review when my phone buzzes at 9:47 a.m. My mom. Need to talk to you. Sarah called me crying. What did you do, *? My blood goes cold. I don't respond immediately. I just stare at the text for what feels like an hour but is probably only seconds. Then my mom calls. Actual voice call, which is never good. I don't answer. I can't. Not here. Not now. She texts again, *, call me back. Sarah said something happened at work. There's some HR investigation, *. My hands are shaking. I set the phone face down on my desk and try to focus on the code in front of me, but the numbers and functions are just meaningless squiggles. How did it move this fast? It's not even 10 in the morning. HR must have taken it seriously immediately. I make an excuse to the other developers about needing to handle something and escape to the bathroom, locking myself in a stall like I'm in high school. I call my mom back. What did you do? She asks before I even get a full hello out. What are you talking about? Don't give me that, my mom says, her voice sharp in a way I rarely hear from her. Sarah's work called her into a meeting this morning. HR wants to talk to her about allegations regarding her participation in company wellness programs. She's terrified. She thinks she's going to be fired. Mom. Did you call her work? Did you tell them something about her drinking? I don't say anything. The silence is answer enough. Oh my God, my mom breathes. You did. You actually did that. She showed up drunk to my barbecue and... I know what she did, my mom cuts me off. She was drunk and she made a mistake and she felt horrible about it. And instead of actually talking to her about it, instead of trying to help her, you sabotaged her career. She's been lying to her employer, I say, and I can hear how weak it sounds. She told them she's been going to AA, and she clearly hasn't been. So that's between her and her job, my mom says. Not between her and you. That was not your call to make. She humiliated me in front of. And now you're humiliating her, my mom interrupts. Is that what this is? Tit for tat. Because Sarah always does this, and you finally snapped. I press my forehead against the cool tile of the bathroom stall. She has to face consequences for her actions. She will, my mom says quietly. But not like this. Not through her little brother going behind her back and reporting her anonymously like some kind of... I don't even know what to call this. I didn't put my name on it. She knows it was you, my mom says. She's not stupid. Who else would do this? My stomach twists. Of course Sarah figured it out. Of course she did. She's in a really dark place right now, my mom continues, her voice wavering. Like, darker than I've seen her in a while. She's talking about how pointless everything is, how she's a complete failure, how nobody believes in her. I'm genuinely worried, and I think you need to think very carefully about what you've done here. The bathroom suddenly feels too small. Mom, I'm not interested in hearing it right now, she says. I think you should consider what you actually want to happen here, because right now you're headed toward losing your sister entirely, and I'm not sure that's what you really want. She hangs up before I can respond. #chunk6. I sit in that bathroom stall for 23 minutes. I count them because I need something to do with my brain besides spiral. 23 minutes of staring at the tile and replaying my mom's words on infinite loop. She's talking about how pointless everything is. I'm genuinely worried. You're headed toward losing your sister entirely. I didn't think about this part. Not really. I told myself I was being objective, that I was just reporting facts, that Sarah needed consequences. But I didn't actually picture what those consequences would look like. I didn't imagine her sitting in an HR office, her hands probably shaking the way mine are now, realizing that someone had been documenting her behavior like she was some kind of experiment. Someone close enough to know the details. My phone buzzes again. My mom, texting, *, call me when you get off work. We need to talk about what happens next, *. What happens next? As if there's a roadmap for this. As if I can somehow unfuck a situation that I've already set in motion. I splash water on my face and head back to my desk. People are filtering in now, the office coming alive. I try to look normal. I try to code. I fail at both. Around 1 p.m., my work Slack lights up with a message from Douglas. Not in the main channel. Direct message. *Hey, got a minute? Conference room B, *. My stomach does a complete flip. This is it. This is HR coming for me. They figured out it was me. Someone traced the anonymous email. My phone number. My internet. Something. I'm about to get fired for reporting my sister, and the irony of that is so thick I can taste it. I gather myself and head to the conference room. Douglas is already there, 2 cups of coffee sitting on the table. He gestures to one of them. You look like you could use this, he says. I sit down slowly, waiting for the axe to fall. I wanted to check in, Douglas says, and his tone is gentle in a way that somehow makes this worse. After the barbecue situation. I know that was rough. Yeah, I manage. Thanks for being understanding about it. Of course. He takes a sip of his coffee. Family stuff is family stuff. It happens. But I wanted you to know that I think you handled yourself well this weekend. The fact that you addressed it and apologized, that you took responsibility for the situation, that speaks volumes about your character. I nod, not trusting myself to speak. Also, Douglas continues, I wanted to give you a heads up about something. There's been some HR activity related to an employee's truthfulness on their wellness program participation. Nothing that involves our department directly, but I wanted you to hear it from me rather than office gossip. My mouth goes dry. Apparently there was an anonymous report made about a coordinator in the corporate wellness department. Someone alleged that she's been misrepresenting her participation in the company's sobriety initiatives. Douglas pauses. The thing is, HR is investigating it thoroughly, and I have to tell you, they're also looking into who might have submitted the report. Not to punish anyone, but because there are protocols around anonymous reporting in the company, and they want to make sure everything was handled appropriately. He's watching me carefully now. Very carefully. Okay, I say slowly. That's HR's job. It is, Douglas agrees. And they're good at it. I mention it because if you happen to have submitted that report, I want you to know that our company takes these things seriously, and there are proper channels. Proper ways to handle concerns about employee wellness and honesty. I'm not saying anything happened, but I'd want you to know that going forward, if you ever had a concern like that, the right move is to involve HR directly through official channels, not anonymously. He's not accusing me. He's just telling me he knows. Or suspects he knows. And he's telling me that there are rules about this, and I broke them. I understand, I say quietly. Good. Douglas smiles, but it's not the same smile he gave me at the promotion party. I'm glad we could talk about it. And again, I hope your family situation improves. Family stuff is complicated. I leave the conference room feeling like I've been hollowed out. By the time I get home that evening, I have 3 missed calls from my mom and a text from an unknown number that says, *, this is Sarah. Can we talk, *? I stand in my kitchen for a long time, staring at that text. Can we talk? As if talking is something that will fix this. As if I can explain myself in a way that makes sense, because I'm not sure it does anymore. I call my mom first. Thank God, she says immediately. Where have you been? Work, I say. Mom, is she okay? No, my mom says bluntly. She's not okay. She spent the morning with HR being questioned about her sobriety program status. She's humiliated. She's angry. She's scared. She's also apparently very aware that her brother is the only person who would have that specific information about her personal life and her workplace. What did you tell her? I didn't have to tell her anything. She figured it out herself, and then she cried for 2 hours. My mom's voice cracks a little. And now she wants to talk to you, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I think you owe her that much. Okay, I say. Okay, I'll call her. And then you're coming over for dinner, my mom says. All of us. We're going to sit down and figure out what comes next as a family, because this has gone too far. She hangs up before I can argue. I stare at Sarah's text for another 5 minutes before I call her back. She answers on the first ring. Hi, she says quietly. Her voice is rough, like she's been crying. Hi, I say back. I don't know where to start, she says. I don't know if I'm angry or hurt or what. I'm all of it, I think. But I need to know, was it because you hate me? Or was it because you were trying to help? The question lands like a punch, because I don't actually have a good answer. When I hit send on that email, I wasn't sure which one it was either. I don't hate you, I say finally. But you did this, Sarah says. You actually did this. Yeah, I admit. I did. #chunk7. The silence on the line stretches so long I think she's hung up. But then I hear her breathing, ragged and uneven. I almost didn't go to work today, Sarah says quietly. I sat in my car in the parking lot for 45 minutes, just sitting there, trying to figure out if I should drive away or go inside. Do you know what that's like? To have to talk yourself into showing up to your own job. Sarah, Let me finish, she says, and there's steel in her voice now beneath the rawness. I went in. Because I knew if I didn't, it would look worse. And HR was waiting for me. They had everything. Emails. Incident reports from the wellness program coordinator who noticed I was signing in for AA meetings I wasn't actually attending. They had dates. They had proof. I closed my eyes. I knew they would have this information. I included it all in my email. But hearing her say it out loud, hearing the devastation in her voice as she lists all the ways I've dismantled her careful lies, it's different. They asked me if I understood the implications, Sarah continues. Do you know what that means? They're not just investigating. They're building a case. They used the words breach of company trust and misrepresentation and grounds for termination. They asked me about my sobriety status, and I had to sit there and admit that no, actually, I'm not sober. I never completed a program. I've been drinking the whole time. Did you tell them that you need help? I ask, hearing the desperation in my own voice. Because Sarah, you do need help. That was the whole point. The point? She laughs, but it's a broken sound. The point was that you decided I was a problem that needed to be solved, and you solved it by burning my life down. That was the point. That's not fair, I say, and immediately hate myself for it. You showed up to my house drunk. You threw up on my boss. You've been lying about being sober, and you clearly have a serious problem. I know I have a problem. Sarah's voice cracks. Don't you think I know that? Don't you think I've known that my entire adult life? But you know what? I was going to fix it. Not because you forced me to, but because I was actually starting to want to. I got 6 months sober. Not in some official program. Not where people could monitor me with documents and dates and evidence. But 6 months where I didn't drink. Do you have any idea how hard that was? I didn't know that. I didn't know any of it. And then the barbecue happened, Sarah says, and I made a stupid choice. One stupid choice. And instead of talking to me like a human being, instead of saying, hey, you fucked up, let's figure this out, you went nuclear. You went to my job. You anonymous reported me like I was some stranger you saw on the street. You threw up on Douglas, I say, and I can hear how weak that sounds. He's my boss. He was my boss. He invited you to my thing to be nice, and you humiliated me. I know, Sarah says, and she sounds defeated now. I know I did. And I'm sorry. I'm genuinely, actually sorry about that. I've been trying to apologize since it happened, but you wouldn't even answer my calls. Because I was furious. And now, she asks quietly. Are you still furious, or are you starting to realize that you've done something that can't be undone? The question hangs in the air between us. Because the truth is, I've been riding this wave of righteous anger, and it's only now that I'm starting to feel the undertow. Douglas knew. Douglas either figured it out or suspected it, and he sat across from me in that conference room and told me, gently, kindly, but very clearly, that what I did was wrong. Not legally wrong. But wrong. Mom said you're coming to dinner, Sarah says, filling the silence. All of us. Yeah. I don't want to come, Sarah says. I want to pack a bag and drive away, and I want to not see you or Mom for like 6 months. But Mom said that's not an option, and she's probably right because running away is what I do, and it's gotten me here. So I'll be there. Sarah. I've been fired, she says bluntly. Well, I wasn't fired yet. But they told me they're recommending termination to the director. They're giving me a chance to resign before they do the official firing, which apparently is the merciful option. So thank you for that. Thank you for destroying the one job I had that I actually liked. The words hit like a physical blow. How long have you known? I ask. Since 11:30 this morning, Sarah says. I've been sitting around for 8 hours deciding whether I wanted to scream at you or ask you why, so I did both. Congratulations. You've officially ruined my life. I hope the vindication feels good. It doesn't, I say. I feel like shit, actually. Good, Sarah says harshly. You should. But that's not going to fix anything, is it? That's not going to unreport me or unfire me. That's just going to be there between us now, forever, like this thing you did to me that I have to carry around. I want to defend myself. I want to explain that I was humiliated and angry and that she deserved consequences. But she's right. That doesn't fix anything. And sitting here in my kitchen, listening to my sister tell me about the wreckage of her life, I'm starting to understand what my mom meant when she said I was headed toward losing her entirely. What are you going to do? I ask. I don't know, Sarah says. Find a new job, I guess. Go back to therapy. Actually commit to getting sober, now that my entire life is falling apart and I have nothing left to lose. I don't know. I'm 25 years old and I just got fired, and my brother is the reason. So whatever I do, that will be part of it. I'm sorry, I say, and it feels impossibly inadequate. Yeah, Sarah says. Me too. I'll see you at dinner. She hangs up. I stand in my kitchen in the dark, not having turned on any lights, and I finally let myself think about what I've actually done. #Chunk8. The family dinner is scheduled for Sunday at 6 p.m. I spend the entire week in a state of paralysis, swinging between regret and defensive anger, unable to land on any solid ground. I go to work. I attend meetings. I code. I exist in a kind of autopilot mode while my insides feel like they're being slowly pulled apart. Douglas catches me in the hallway on Friday. How are you doing? He asks, and the genuine concern in his voice makes my chest tighten. Not great, I admit. I've been thinking about what you said. About the proportionality thing. He nods slowly. I meant it. Not to absolve your sister of anything, what she did at your barbecue was completely inappropriate, and she should face consequences for that. But there's a difference between consequences and destruction. I hope you're starting to see that distinction. I'm starting to, I say quietly. For what it's worth, Douglas continues, I've talked to a couple of people in HR as a friend. Not in any official capacity. But I mentioned that I was aware of the situation, and that I didn't report it myself. I wanted them to understand that this didn't come from me seeking retaliation or protection. Sometimes context matters. I just wanted you to know that. He walks away before I can respond, and I'm left standing in the hallway feeling something shift inside me. Douglas is a kind man. He had every right to be angry, and instead he's being thoughtful. He's trying to give me a way to eventually move forward with my professional reputation intact, even though I've already tarnished it by my own choices. Sunday arrives too quickly. I drive to my mom's house with my stomach in knots, having gone back and forth 3 times about whether I should even go. But backing out now would be cowardly, and I've already done enough damage by taking the cowardly route of anonymity when I reported Sarah. Mom answers the door with a kind of cautious expression that tells me she's been dreading this as much as I have. The dining room table is set for 4. Sarah is already there, sitting rigidly in a chair, looking smaller somehow. She's clearly lost weight in the week since we last spoke, and there are dark circles under her eyes that make her look hollowed out. Everyone's here, Mom says brightly, though the brightness rings false. Let's sit down. No one wants to start. We eat the salad course in near silence, the scraping of forks against plates the loudest sound in the room. Mom keeps trying to make conversation about neutral topics, the weather, her garden, an article she read, but her efforts die in the air like deflated balloons. Finally, Sarah sets down her fork. I've enrolled in a treatment program, she says, not looking at me. It starts next week. It's residential. 28 days. And then intensive outpatient after that. That's good, honey, Mom says carefully. I thought about not doing it, Sarah continues. I thought about proving that I didn't need it, that I could get sober on my own just to spite you. She finally looks at me, and her eyes are red-rimmed. But that would still be letting you control my life. Just in a different direction. So I'm doing this for me. Not for you, not for Mom, not to undo what happened. For me. I think that's the right choice, I say, and my voice sounds hoarse. It's not going to fix things between us, Sarah says bluntly. I need to be clear about that. Even if I get sober, even if I get my life together, what you did is still going to be there. You still reported me. You still burned that bridge intentionally, and nothing I do can undo that. I know, I say. But, Sarah says, and she pauses, swallowing hard, I've been in therapy this week. Like, emergency therapy, because apparently destroying your sister's career is a family situation that warrants extra sessions. And my therapist said something that made sense to me. She said that just because I can't undo what you did doesn't mean I can't move past it. That forgiveness isn't about forgetting or pretending it didn't happen. It's about deciding not to let it define my future. Mom reaches over and squeezes Sarah's hand. I'm not there yet, Sarah says carefully, looking at me now. I'm still angry. I'm still hurt. I'm still terrified about what's going to happen with my job situation, and whether anyone's going to hire me after this blows up in my face online. But my therapist helped me understand something about you too. You were humiliated. You felt disrespected in front of people who matter to your career. And instead of dealing with that like an adult, you did something petty. That doesn't make it okay, but it makes it understandable. That's more grace than I deserve, I say. Probably, Sarah agrees. But I'm offering it anyway, because I need to be able to move forward, and I can't do that while I'm holding on to this rage. It's poison. It's already made me sick enough. Mom starts crying quietly. Sarah reaches over and holds her other hand. I'm going to get better, Sarah says, and she sounds more certain than I've ever heard her. Not because I have to. Not because I'm being forced. But because I want to. And maybe someday, when I'm further along in recovery, we can actually talk about this. About what happened, about why you did it, about whether we can find our way back to being siblings. But that's not today. No, I agree. That's not today. I'm asking you not to contact me while I'm in treatment, Sarah says. Not because I'm cutting you off forever, but because I need to focus. I need to do this work without distractions. Can you respect that? Yes, I say immediately. Of course. The rest of dinner is quieter, but somehow less tense. We don't pretend that everything is fine, but we stop acting like we're in active combat. Mom tells us about her plans to paint the kitchen. Sarah mentions that she's reading a book that she actually likes. I talk about work, carefully avoiding anything about Douglas or the promotion. When we leave, Sarah doesn't hug me. She nods, and it's respectful. It's not forgiveness, but it's the opening of a door that I thought I'd permanently closed. I drive home in the dark, and for the first time since the barbecue, I cry. Not tears of rage or vindication, but tears of genuine regret. I've learned something these past 2 weeks, something expensive and painful, that revenge doesn't make you feel better. It just spreads the damage outward, like ripples in still water, until you can't remember what it was like before you threw the stone. Sarah will get sober. She might rebuild her career. We might, eventually, find our way back to something resembling a sibling relationship. But the person who needed to change the most through all of this was never Sarah. It was me.